Hi, I'm Winnie Malls, and today I'm here to talk about the book Lost Lambs by Madeline Cash. This is one of everybody's most anticipated literary fiction releases of 2026, and I read it. I finished reading it like a few weeks ago, and it truly left me devastated and disappointed. I'm truly upset because I thought the cover was really cool, and I really wanted to get a physical copy of it, and I ended up like it's not even. I don't even hate it. I just think it's a fucking annoying book. It pissed me off. So I just want you to remember before I say anything about the plot of the book is 340 pages. It does not go beyond 350. The book is short, okay? I mean, it's not short, but what I'm gonna start telling you. The book follows a family, okay? Books following families are one of my favorite. Like, I think they're really fun. This one wasn't. It just pissed me off. The writing of the book tries to be quirky and silly, and it fails miserably at times because first of all, this is not the type of story you tell with that fuck-ass writing. In the book, we follow the Flynn family. The Flynn family includes Catherine Flynn and Bud Flynn, who are basically, they're married. And we start the book knowing that Catherine and Bud are technically on an open relationship, even though Bud didn't really agree to it. But Catherine wanted to fuck the neighbor, okay? She was having an emotional affair with a neighbor. She was emotionally cheating on Bud, and she was like, we should open the relationship. And Bud's like, no, the fuck? No. And she just, guys, no, it's going to be great for us. It's either that or divorce. And he's like, well, sure then. So yeah, they don't get a divorce. They enter this open relationship. She's seeing the neighbor, Jim something. Jim does pottery. He does ceramics, and she was an artist before marrying Bud. She was an artist, and she wanted to be a photographer, but after getting married and having 3 kids, that kind of was set back. Same thing with Bud, by the way. Bud was a guitarist. He was a musician, and he wanted to be a guitarist and a musician, but just like Catherine, he ended up settling for a normal life as kind of an accountant. I don't think it's an accountant, but he there's this port and he manages the cargo. He sees what gets in and he sees what gets out. And that's what he does. After Catherine enters this affair with a neighbor and all of his kids have some weird shit going on, he starts becoming depressed and even suicidal. He tells the Father Andrew, aka the priest of the town, that his friend is thinking of killing himself and if God would approve. And the priest is like, no, that's a sin. And not only that, but also his job at work it starts to become noticeable that he's depressed, and they suggest that he basically joins an extracurricular for adults. And they give him a bunch of pamphlets and he picks a random one, Lost Lambs, which is basically this little cult at the church that he works for that is managed by Miss Wrinkle. Miss Wrinkle, who he ends up also having an affair with. By the way, this happens like a lot later than because when the book starts, Catherine is already having an emotional affair with the neighbor. When Bud is finally kind of falling in love with Miss Wrinkle, it's already been a while, and by this time is when Catherine is like, I actually don't like the neighbor, and I will tell you why she doesn't like I'm not going to tell you why later, because if I count what happens by what happens like in the book, it's going to be really confusing. So basically, she finds out that he doesn't because as I told you, it's an emotional affair. They didn't have sex. When they finally were going to do it, she goes to his house and he's like, I'm gonna show you my art. And she's like, you show me your art. You do pottery, you do ceramics. And he's like, no, my real art. Takes her to the basement, and in the basement there are a bunch of vaginas made out of ceramics, and he thinks that she's going to think this is like normal and not weird at all, because she also does she plays a lot with nudity in her photography, and I think that's fine. The little thing is that every single one of those vaginas belongs to a real woman that Jim has been with in the past, and Catherine is weirded the fuck out by this, and she's like, oh fuck no, and she leaves. She gets the fuck out of there. And when she's finally being like, you know what, I should have never left Bud. Our relationship would be so much easier if I was with him, blah, blah. She is at the supermarket and she hears 2 women talking about Bud having an affair with Miss Wrinkle. And she's like, what? What do you mean opening my relationship means that both of us can do it? No. So yeah, That happens, she goes home and they have a massive argument. This is the first part of the book where I got the ick, because there's this like very explicit kind of rough, violent sex scene between the both of them with very dubious consent. Okay, it's very weird and it's icky and I didn't like it. I was uncomfortable and I was like, why the fuck is this here? Because especially as I told you before, the book tries to be funny and quirky. This is not funny and quirky, this is weird. Next thing, let's go to the daughters. Abigail. Abigail is in high school. She's in her last year of high school, I'm pretty sure. And she's extremely pretty, she's extremely attractive, and that's most of her character. That's her main characteristic, is that she's very attractive. She's at a party and she ends up somehow going to Alabaster Manor. Alabaster Manor belongs to Paul Alabaster, who is a billionaire that owns the port, and basically his dad indirectly works for him. She gets in, there's this really old creepy guy trying to flirt with her, and there's also this really young guy who I don't exactly know how old he is, but he's an adult. He has been to the military before. And she starts dating him. They're already dating in the beginning of the book. This is told to us after. She's dating him. They call him War Crimes Wes because he was in the military. I don't know what he did in the military. Nobody tells you what he was doing in the military. We do know is that right now he works for Paul Alabaster as a private security guard. She starts dating him, and during this time, we start following also her two other sisters. The middle sister, Louise, who I don't know how old she is, but she's somewhere between, I think she's in the beginning of high school. And she's very mid, like she's very mediocre, everything. She's not that pretty, not that ugly. She is mediocre in school, and she has a lisp. So she doesn't excel at anything. And she wants to basically win this beauty pageant. I don't really remember where the idea came from, but she wants to win this beauty pageant at the church. And when they tell her, when the priest is like, you need to put a talent down, she's like, she doesn't really have a talent. When it comes the time to show off her talent, she just stays like 2.5 minutes without breathing, which is insane. And she's also in an online relationship with a weird guy who is Muslim, and you can tell that he's a radical, and I don't like the way that's written as well. Okay, I think it's very weird to have the one Muslim character in your book be a radical who is very clearly trying to radicalize Louise into becoming a literal terrorist. So that's Louise for you. And then there's Harper, the youngest daughter, who is extremely smart. That's what she's got. Like, she has an insane brain. At some point, she's so bored that her dad is like, learn Latin. And she learns Latin in like a few weeks. So there's that for you. Harper is the first person in the book to become skeptical about Paul Alabaster, the Alabaster Manor, and that entire billionaire bullshit. She's very skeptical about it, and she tries to basically find clues to prove that she's right. And in doing this, she ends up getting labeled as a very weird and problematic child. Because of this, her dad and her mom sent her to wilderness therapy. Yes, she's sent to wilderness therapy, that therapy where they basically kidnap kids in the middle of the night. They put them in a van, send them to the middle of fucking nowhere, and they have to stay there where food and clothing and everything is a luxury. And basically during this time, Harper kind of learns how to fit in and how to say what adults want her to say so she can get out of the fucking camp. We get that for one fucking chapter. Okay, and I'm gonna touch on that later. When Harper gets out, which we barely touch on, the fact that she was there in the first place, she gets out and Bud is talking to, there's the whole thing with her mom and her dad going, by the way. That happens during this time. And Bud is facing another issue besides Catherine and Miss Wrinkle, which is that he has noticed that some of the cargo that enters the port is completely unlabeled. Everything inside it is just put as untitled and unidentified, and he can't track down even what the cargo was and who brought it, and like he can't track down anything, and he thinks it's really weird. And he starts to notice that this does not just happen once. This happens more than once, every single time under the same circumstances. Like, it's not like there was a cargo and the random AI that they used to scan it couldn't scan it. No, it's the exact same thing every time. They can't find what the cargo was. They can't find whoever the fuck sent it there. They can't track down anything about it. He ends up telling his manager, and his manager is like, that's weird, but you understand that she knows more than she's letting on. And then after that, Bud ends up getting called to the Alabaster Manor to talk to Paul Alabaster himself. During this time, we also discovered that Abigail has received a letter inviting her to a party at Alabaster Manor, and Wes was very skeptical about it, so he got this random guy to find dirt on Paul Alabaster. Meanwhile, Bud is basically getting threatened and blackmailed by Paul Alabaster, being like, this consistent inconsistencies that you found, we're very well aware of them. We are corrupt. But we really value, when you are an employee, we don't just value your work, we value your loyalty. We want you to be a loyal employee and stay quiet. And Bud is like, what? And he's like, you have 3 daughters. It would be a shame if something happened to them. So he basically threatens him, manipulates him and he also pays him to shut the fuck up. So for the next few weeks, he just has a bunch of money to spend. He's buying his kids like a lot of cool stuff. Catherine is like, can we renovate the bathroom? And he's like, yes, we can renovate the bathroom. She doesn't even ask where the money comes from, but they can renovate the bathroom. Wes paid that guy to find shit on Paul Alabaster. He does. He finds a picture of him with Father Andrew, by the way, with the girl that is blindfolded and very clearly passed out, right? By this time, you're like, oh, this is sex trafficking. He's sex trafficking and she was getting assaulted. After a few pages, we get a chapter of Father Andrew basically talking to Paul Alabaster, and Paul Alabaster came to confess, and he basically confessed, I would really like to live forever, and the priest is like, well, that sucks, you can't do that, and I don't think God approves of that either. And he basically also manipulates in the same way that he did with Bud. He manipulates Father Andrew into becoming his spiritual advisor, because he brings up the random guy that Father Andrew accidentally ran over and killed when he was still like a young adult. So he manipulates, like he blackmails everybody, basically. He blackmails him, and meanwhile, Louise is not allowed to leave the municipality anymore because they tried to fly. I think it was with Catherine. I think they were going with Catherine to visit their grandma or grandfather or something like that. And Louise, when they scanned her passport, they were like, she's on the no-flight list. And she's on the no-flight list because she was planning online, along with her weird radicalized boyfriend, to attack the beauty pageant. She was going to like throw a Molotov something at it or something like that. She was planning a terrorist act, okay? So she's not allowed to leave the municipality. She's not allowed to leave the fucking country. And she's, everybody finds out and they basically call her a terrorist. Like the family they were already being badly talked because of the whole affair, open relationship thing. Then Harper going to wilderness camp. And now their middle daughter being an apparent terrorist. And by the way, when I'm saying this whole terrorist thing in such a lighthearted and surface level way, it's because it's the exact same way that this happens in the book, and I'm going to talk about that later. But we're almost there. Oh my god, thank god. Abigail is going to the Alabaster. Wes gets fired because they found out that he was trying to get shit on them. He gets fired. He can no longer enter the Alabaster Manor. Abigail is going to the party. He doesn't tell her that he was fired, and she's planning on finding him there because they have barely been talking, because he doesn't want to put her in danger with the Alabaster Manor or some shit like that. She's invited to the party. She goes to the party, and in that party, Paul Alabaster basically drugs her, and you're like, oh my god, he's going to traffic her. Turns out he's not sex trafficking. He is human trafficking. The cargo that was coming was a bunch of Albanian girls who were extremely pretty, because what Paul Alabaster wanted to do was play vampire and drink pretty people's blood. Meanwhile, Harper and Louise and Wes basically know something's going on, and they talk to Bud, and they end up calling the police. And I think the billionaire doesn't get away with it, which is insane and unrealistic, but he doesn't get away with it. And everybody's like, oh my god, they just saved all those 20 Albanian girls. That's beautiful. Blah, blah, blah. So the family gets into like a little bit into better sheets. And so this whole thing happens. Bud stops seeing Miss. No. Bud is still seeing Miss. So there's probably a really weird cut on the video because I was called to go to my sister's handball game, like to watch her. But basically the book ends with all of that billionaire stuff getting fixed. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if he actually got consequences. I think he did. But yeah, they saved all of those Albanian girls. And it ends with them at the kind of, I think it was like a random restaurant, like a pizzeria or something. And the last chapter is from the point of view of Jim's son. So basically, after Catherine broke things off with Jim, he obviously was really mad and started like shit talking her and her family because, you know, God forbid you don't give in to a man's wishes and suddenly you're a bitch. But yeah, he's watching them and he's shit talking them. He's like, oh, fuck them, like they're so weird, because in that dinner is Catherine, Bud, Mrs. Wrinkle, who Catherine is fine with, and Bud is there with her. Then Abigail and Wes, Louise and her new boyfriend, because she got a new boyfriend because obviously she had to like cut contact with the other guy. And so she got a new boyfriend and she converted from Islam to Judaism because her new boyfriend is Jewish. Yeah, that happened, and I'm not even gonna touch on that. That happened, and she's there with him, and then there's Harper, and they're with them as well. So that's how the book ends, them having that conversation, and Jim is like genuinely angry at the sight of them. But meanwhile, the kid, like his child, is like looking at them and he's kind of longing. He's like, well, yeah, they're weird, but they love each other. And this was the point where I was like, I just wasted at least like 5 hours of my fucking life reading this book. That's the big, like, what the fuck? What the fuck? I was so upset. Because you're telling me I went through 338 pages of just utter bullshit because there was so much stuff happening and yet none of it was ever done in depth. There's so many themes that could have been entire books by themselves. The entire trafficking scheme, not only was it handled very weirdly, because I don't think you can be quirky and funny while writing about things this fucking serious, especially if you're not even being quirky and funny all the time. Like, I feel like sometimes the book forgot it was trying to be quirky and funny, so it was just weird to look at whenever you remember that it was trying to be quirky and funny again. But yeah, you can't do something like that and then suddenly it just ends up, you know, out of the fucking blue. Everything ends up fine for no fucking reason. There's also the whole terrorism situation with her converting to Islam and suddenly wanting to commit terrorism, not even to mention like her converting to Judaism right after. So there's a theme there, I guess, of like people who are very insecure and so they end up like trying to get everyone's identity, and those types of children are very, very receptible to these type of radicalization, not just from Islam obviously, but also for other very dangerous alt-right groups. That was surface level as fuck. Incredible conversation to have in a book. Would be really fun if done as a satire. That's not what happens. It's just a random plot that's put there. There's so much stuff in the book that could have been interesting, but it was not only rushed, it was so surface level. I felt like it was there just to be. And there's so many people being like, oh, the book is so... It's not. It's just a surface level book. Like, it truly pisses me off at how surface level it is, because I can't even criticize anything, because what is there? There's nothing. There's no substance to the book. It's just you know, whenever somebody writes a story and they just add a bunch of insane shit, so you can be like, oh my god, this is so crazy. It's just shock value. The entire book is shock value. There's nothing of substance to it. There's nothing to talk about it because there's absolutely nothing. You can talk about their dynamics, but even their dynamics are shallow as fuck. Because it's just, oh my god, they're such a weird ass dysfunctional family, but they love each other. Like, oh my god, what is this? What is this, fifth grade? Like, what are we doing? And the writing also pissed me off because you can't be funny and quirky while doing shit like this. Not only, also, again, as I'm telling you, sometimes the writing just forgot because the truth is, how can you write about a literal human trafficking scheme while being like, haha, funny and quirky? You can't do that. So during those parts, the writing was not like that because it couldn't be. So let's please ignore the fact that I'm Avatar or in an aquarium, as it seems, but something that I also didn't like about the ending was not that it was just underwhelming, is that it makes everything like so meaningless because Harper, for example, let's take a look at Harper. What Harper went through was insane levels of neglect and abuse, right? Neglect is abuse, but hear me out. Harper is this like hyper intelligent child. Her parents did not want to take responsibility for that. Okay, they didn't care about that. They didn't want to help her, connect with her peers because she couldn't do that. She didn't really have any friends because normally kids like this who have hyper like abilities in terms of intellect, they end up being kind of friendless because they do not like their brains do not work or and process things in the world around them in the same way their peers do. So that was ignored first of all by her whole ass family. Then they like just start acting like she's devil on earth. They just keep telling her, "Oh, learn this, learn that." Basically, just be like, "I don't know, stop being bored." Blah blah. They just so that's already neglect, right? And then there's the point where they start basically acting like she's fucking crazy, right? Because what Harper was gaslit through most of the book. So they're like, "Oh, you're insane, that's not happening, blah blah blah." Suddenly she's fucking right. And they sent her to wilderness camp. And I do not like the way that was portrayed because the horror stories that are known about those types of wilderness therapy camps or whatever the fuck, that is abuse. They are abusing those children. And in the book, it is portrayed that Harper had to basically work for very basic, like, shit as basic as her own fucking clothes, right? But again, it was so rushed. And it's never acknowledged that Harper would be rightfully traumatized from that and that she would not trust her family after that. Because, and I'm telling you, every single person that has gone through wilderness therapy will probably be extremely triggered and mad about the way it is portrayed in this book. Okay, so if you want to look at, like, that I forgot. I think her name is Bad Barbie. You know, the Gucci flip flops girl. She has spoken about the harm that this type of therapy has done to her. Lexi Jones has also done it on her Instagram page. So if you want to look at those stories, please do. And the way this book treats it, it's so responsible that I just had to make a whole section for that. There is also something that I talked about. I didn't really talk about it in the end. I don't know why, I kind of forgot with everything, but that one scene that I mentioned where the consent between there's like one scene of more explicit sex, which is between Catherine and Bud, and the consent is extremely dubious. Okay, it's extremely dubious because the both of them are not in the right mind. They're angry at each other, and Catherine is literally crying. You know, it seems like she doesn't want it. It's really weird. And to me, if it is dubious, it is wrong, point blank. Like, there is no maybe when it comes to consent. So, I also did not like that. I hate how it was just ignored, right? It happens. And again, I don't think that we should stop portraying things like this in media because they do happen. But to put them in there and have zero commentary about it and just act like they didn't happen is crazy and irresponsible. And as an author, you cannot be this fucking irresponsible. Like, if you want to add this type of shit to your book, You can't just treat it like this. It's disrespectful to anybody that has went through it. And this happens with the entire fucking story. The way the fucking human trafficking, like what? The more I think about it, the more disgusted I am by this book. The more inclined I am to just lowering the rating because I gave it like I think 2 stars. I'm inclined to give it 1 because what is this? It's so irresponsible. It is so deeply irresponsible. I have no words. Yeah, it was not a hyperbole. This wasn't a hyperbolic situation made to be so insanely silly that you can take these serious themes and still do a little laugh, laugh, ha ha at them. You can't do that with the book because, first of all, it is not as hyperbolic as it seems, and it's not even hyperbole, it's just surface level because there's just this really insane thing that's described and nothing of substance to it about it. It's 338 pages. There's not enough space and time to deal with all of these weird ass plot lines. There simply isn't. Everything that happened was just thrown at me for a chapter or two, and then I was like, what the fuck? And then I was just thrown the next other insane thing while not really giving a fuck about the characters because normally, again, in these types of shows, the characters can be really fucking annoying people. Like, I feel like Abigail is kind of annoying as fuck, but at the same time, you kind of do that. To me, that she was the least annoying of them all. Like, she was the one that I sympathized a little bit more because I feel like we did spend a lot of time with her and she was put in a very insane situation, so you're kind of like, girl, run. But at the same time, you don't really care for anyone. I didn't give a fuck about Louise. I didn't really give a fuck about Catherine. I didn't really give a fuck about Harper. And it's really insane to say I didn't give a fuck about these girls when they went through such insane, unimaginable things. A lot of them, like, I'm sorry, getting into this weird, radicalized relationship with a guy who was grooming you and manipulating you into committing acts of violence to the point where you cannot live in a municipality and you're kind of a state. You almost committed a crime against the state. That is insane, and I did not care about it because it happened for like a few chapters at most. And I did not care for it. I didn't have time to care for it. The same thing with Harper. This girl was sent to wilderness fucking therapy for a chapter or two, and it was never really acknowledged again. None of her siblings acknowledged, like, hey, they sent our sister to the middle of fucking nowhere. Nobody really talks about it with her. So, and that is not realistic. You're telling me, oh, that's realistic family. Like, no. Even families this dysfunction, especially because the sisters, like, they didn't really know what the other was up to a little bit, but they did talk to each other. So I feel like if your sister was sent to wilderness therapy, not only would that at least pop in your mind and they would have some thoughts about it, like they would think about it, they would like also maybe talk about it with her. And again, even if they didn't talk about it with her, in her POV, in their POVs, I mean, there's not first person POVs, but sometimes you can tell that you're very centered in the character and you're kind of in their head. So in those types of chapters where it would be on Abigail's head or Louise's head, there would be at least a thought about Harper, but that never happens. And I do understand that also they have a lot of shit going on, but again, if the book was not 300 fucking pages long, we would have time to do all that, but we don't because somebody decided that making a book this fucking heavy in themes and this fucking insane, 300 pages was normal. And I'm 100% convinced that this book is like going to be turned into like a movie or something because it has a lot of potential for it. And I've seen really random videos of people being like, oh, this is who I would cast. And I'm like, the book's been out for like a few months. Why is everybody like, I feel like the book is getting thrown at me. It's like fucking somber. I can't breathe without this book being thrown at me like this. It's like whenever R.F. Kuang releases a new book and it's like thrown on my face. And I'm just like, calm down. I feel like I'm getting the book thrown at my face and I'm like, what do we do? Because it's, again, I don't think it's that good. I generally think it's mid as fuck because there's just a lot of bullshit happening for no fucking reason. And at the end, they were all like, you know what, we love each other. Again, maybe this would be a really fun, like, 3-season TV show, but not a 300-page book. And I feel like everything was just thrown at me so I could be like, oh, this is insane, oh, this is insane, over and over and over again. And because this happened so much, and because the book was so short, I didn't really care about any of it. And not only did I not care, I felt like I was being like, it was shock value. Like, I feel like the author wanted me to care. That's why I was getting thrown this, and that at my face. But I feel like if this was maybe the thing is, I don't think this type of story really works as a book. Not if it's this insane. If it was like one of these plots put into the story, maybe yes, but all of them together in a 300-page book, I don't think it works. Even, and then if the book was long, honestly, if the book was longer, I personally would read it. But I do know that this is a debut novel, so making it longer than like 300, 400 pages is a little bit of a stretch for a debut novel, and a lot of people won't do it. But for example, if there was a novel like the length of the bee sting right here, I would probably read it, because I think that would be, it would be funnier in my opinion. The pacing would be better, and I would care more about these characters, and then it wouldn't feel just like shock value. It would feel like an actual story that would make me care about the characters, and that's why at the end I would be like, oh, but they love each other at the end of the day. But because it's so short and everything just happens like over and over, like there's boom, 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 Harper, terrorism, and in wilderness camp, in billionaire, and he's a vampire, and he's eating blood, and Abigail's gonna get trafficked, and I'm like, what the fuck? Calm down. What is this? What are we doing? So yeah, oh, this is not a lamb, but it is. But it is a sheep. Are you a lamb? You're not a lamb. Yeah, he's not a lamb, but he's a sheep, so it's closer. I have another sheep, but I feel like this one looks more like a lamb. Also, when I was a child, I hated this one. It's actually a little segregated. It's like here in my bed, and it's not next to me on my bed, because when I was a kid, I fucking hated this plushie because I was told that he ate my pacifier, because I wore a pacifier until like the age of 7, 6. And so they tried to get me to stop using it like a bunch of times, and in a lot of them they just told me, oh, your plushies ate it, but I never believed it. For some fucking reason, I believed this guy ate my pacifier. I know you didn't, I'm sorry, but I believed he ate my pacifier, so I just said, like, I would put him really far away. I wouldn't look at him. So yeah, maybe he is a lamb in a way that he's been sacrificed. Maybe you are a lamb. So yeah, that was Lost Lambs by Madeline Cash, and I hope that if you read the book, you had a better experience than I did, because the cover is really fucking cool, bro. The cover is so pretty. Both of them are really pretty, but I really like the one where there's like an actual lamp, and then there's like there's a bookmark inside of the book that's also a lamp. It's so fucking cool, bro. I wish I liked the book. But yeah, that was Lost Lambs by Madeline Cash. I didn't really like it. I give it 2.75 stars, but I might give it 3 because I don't think it was that bad. I was just really annoyed when I did the review. But yeah, that was Lost Lambs by Madeline Cash. I hope that it was a longer book. I really wish it was a longer book. Bye.